aware of these three holy forces of the sacred Triamazikamno, and then named them. The first, God the Father. The second, God the Son. The third, God the Holy Ghost. And in various cases expressed the hidden meaning of them, and also their longing to have a beneficent effect from them for their own individuality by the following prayers. Sources of divine, rejoicings, revolts, and sufferings, direct your actions upon us. Or, wholly affirming, wholly denying, wholly reconciling, transubstantiate in me for my being. Or, holy God, holy firm, holy immortal, have mercy on us. Now, my boy, listen further very attentively. And so, in the beginning, as I've already told you, our most holy Son Absolute was maintained by the help of these two primordial sacred laws. But then these primordial laws functioned independently, without the help of any forces whatsoever coming from outside. And this system was still called only the autoegocrat. And so, our all-maintaining endlessness decided to change the principle of the system of the functioning of both of these fundamental sacred laws. And namely, he decided to make their independent functioning dependent on forces coming from outside. And so, in consequence of the fact that for this new system of functioning of the forces which until then maintained the existence of the most holy Son Absolute, there were required, outside of the Son Absolute, corresponding sources in which such forces could arise and from which they could flow into the presence of the most holy Son Absolute. Our almighty endlessness was just then compelled to create our now existing megalocosmos, with all the cosmoses of different scales and relatively independent cosmic formations present in it. And from then on, the system which maintained the existence of the Son Absolute began to be called Trogo-Autoegocrat. Our common father, omni-being endlessness, having decided to change the principle of the maintenance of the existence of this then still unique cosmic concentration and sole place of his most glorious being, first of all altered the process itself of the functioning of these two primordial fundamental sacred laws, and he actualized the greater change in the law of the sacred Heptaparapashanoch. These changes in the functioning of the sacred Heptaparapashanoch consisted in this: that in three of its stopinders, he altered the what are called subjective actions, which had been until then in the stopinders in this respect: that in one, he lengthened the law conformable successiveness, shortened it in another, and in a third, disharmonized it. And namely, with the purpose of providing the requisite inherency for receiving for its functioning the automatic affluence of all forces which were near. He lengthened the stopinder between its third and fourth deflections. This same stopinder of the sacred Heptaparapashanoch is just that one which is still called the mechano-coinciding Midnelin, and the stopinder which he shortened is between its last deflection and the beginning of a new cycle of its completing process. By this same shortening, for the purpose of facilitating the commencement of a new cycle of its completing process, he predetermined the functioning of the given stopinder to be dependent only upon the affluence of forces obtained from outside through that stop-ender from the results of the action of that cosmic concentration itself, in which the completing process of this primordial fundamental sacred law flows. And this stop-ender of the sacred Heptaparapashanoch is just that one which is still called the intentionally actualized Midnel-in. As regards the third stop-ender, then changed in its subjective action, and which is fifth in the general successiveness, and is called Harnel Aut, its disharmony flowed by itself from the change of the two aforementioned stop-enders. This disharmony, in its subjective functioning, flowing from its asymmetry, so to say, in relation to the whole entire completing process of the sacred Heptaparapashanoch, consists in the following. If the completing process of the sacred law flows in conditions, where during its process there are many extraneously caused vibrations, then all its functioning gives only external results. But if this same process proceeds in absolute quiet, without any external extraneously caused vibrations whatsoever, then all the results of the action of its functioning remain within that concentration in which it completes its process. And for the outside, these results only become evident on direct and immediate contact with it. And if, however, during its functioning there are neither of these two sharply opposite conditions, then the results of the action of its process usually divide themselves into the external and the internal. Thus, from that time, the process of actualization began to proceed in the greatest as well as in the smallest cosmic concentrations, with these stop-enders of this primordial sacred law of Heptaparapashanoch changed in this way in their subjective actions. I repeat, my boy, try very hard to understand everything that will relate to both these fundamental cosmic sacred laws, since knowledge of these sacred laws, particularly knowledge relating to the particularities of the sacred Heptaparapashanoch, will help you in the future to understand very easily and very well all the second grade and third grade laws of world creation and world existence. Likewise, an all-round awareness of everything concerning these sacred laws also conduces in general to this, that three-brained beings, irrespective of the form of their exterior coding, by becoming capable in the presence of all cosmic factors not depending on them, and arising round about them, both the personally favorable as well as the unfavorable, of pondering on the sense of existence, acquire data for the elucidation and reconciliation in themselves of that what is called individual collision, which often arises in general in three-brained beings from the contradiction between the concrete results flowing from the processes of all the cosmic laws and the results presupposed and even quite surely expected by their what is called sane logic, and thus correctly evaluating the essential significance of their own presence. They become capable of becoming aware of the